He took my daughter because I can't walk. 3 years later, he brought her back. I got into a car accident and lost the ability to walk. While I was still in the hospital learning how to use a wheelchair, my ex Grant went to court behind my back and got full custody of our 5-year-old daughter Mila. I didn't even know there was a hearing until my sister called me sobbing so hard she could barely speak. Grant just walked out of family court with Mila. He told the judge you can't even feed yourself. Grant came to my sister's house that same night to take Mila. My sister held the phone up so I could hear, and Mila was screaming and gripping the doorframe. Grant was prying her fingers off one by one, saying, "Come on, my mommy's too sick." I was lying in a hospital bed listening to my daughter scream for me and I couldn't do anything. My lawyer said, if you can't prove you can live on your own before the review hearing, you will lose her for good. The day I got out of the hospital, I wheeled myself into my kitchen and tried to make a cup of coffee. It took me 20 minutes. I spilled it twice and burned my hand, and I sat there staring at the mug thinking, if I can't even do this, how am I going to convince a judge I can raise a child? But I kept going. Every single day I called Grant to talk to Mila. He picked up a couple times at first and I could hear her in the background yelling, "Mommy, Mommy, come get me," and I had to press the phone against my chest so she wouldn't hear me crying. Then he stopped picking up completely. I texted him, "Please just let me hear her voice. That's all I'm asking." He wrote back, "She doesn't ask about you anymore. Move on." I just stared at that text shaking because the last time he picked up, she was literally screaming my name. I told my lawyer to file for visitation, but the requests kept getting denied or buried. We finally got a judge to order a home evaluation. The evaluator came to my apartment and I wheeled her through every room showing her the grab bars and the ramp and the lowered counters. She stopped in the kitchen and watched me transfer myself from the wheelchair to a regular chair and back without help. She put her clipboard down and said, "You've done an incredible job with this place." My hands were shaking because I finally felt like somebody actually saw how hard I had been fighting. Then she left and never turned in her report. My lawyer called me and said, "Without that report, we have nothing. We're back to zero." I told her to file a complaint and request a new evaluator. Grant's lawyer responded by filing a motion to terminate my parental rights. His argument was that my disability made me permanently unfit to parent. I remember my lawyer reading me that motion over the phone, and I was sitting in Mila's empty bedroom in the dark, staring at the little yellow raincoat she left on the back of her door. I told her, "Fight it with everything we have." My lawyer called me after the hearing and said, "They denied his motion and you're still her mother, but Grant's lawyer is fighting the visitation order, so it could be a long time before you actually see her." I decided I was going to build a life so solid that no judge could ever question me again. I found an apartment on the ground floor with wide doorways and no stairs, and the first thing I did was set up the second bedroom for Mila. Same bedding and same stuffed animals I had kept in a box. I hung the yellow raincoat on the hook behind the door because that room was hers no matter how long it took. I met Theo in the waiting room at my physical therapy sessions. The first thing he said to me was, "Nice wheels, mine are better," and he was wearing a prosthetic with flames painted on it and grinning like he had been waiting all day to use that line. Something about him made me feel like a real person again instead of just a case file. We started talking every day and then every night, and he never once treated me like I was broken. One night I told him everything about Mila, and I couldn't get through it without completely falling apart. He just held my hand and said, "We're going to figure this out. I promise you." We got married at the courthouse, and when Theo picked me up and carried me through the front door, I told him his leg was going to snap off, and he laughed so hard he almost dropped me. I couldn't remember the last time I had laughed like that. We did IVF, and when I held our son Nico for the first time, something in my chest finally unclenched, and I could actually breathe again. Theo caught me sitting in the doorway of Mila's room one night, and he said quietly, "We'll fill it one day." Things kept getting better. I started sleeping through the night and laughing at dinner. When Nico said his first word, it was mama, and I completely lost it, because Mila used to say it the exact same way, stretching it out into 2 long syllables like a little song. Theo came running in thinking something was wrong, and I told him through tears, I just needed to hear someone call me that again. Then I was giving Nico a bath one night, and he was slapping the water and squealing. My phone buzzed on the counter, and I looked over, and every muscle in my body locked up. It was Grant. I picked up, and his voice was so casual it made my skin crawl. "Hey, I need to talk to you about Mila." Grant pulls into our driveway and doesn't come to the door. He just texts, "She's outside." I wheel to the front door and open it, and Mila is standing on the porch holding a plastic bag with some clothes in it. She is 8 years old now and so much taller than I remember. Her hair is matted, and she is wearing a stained shirt that is way too small for her. Grant is sitting in the car with the engine running, and there is a woman in the passenger seat filing her nails. I call out, "You're not even going to walk her in?" He rolls down his window. "Brooke and I are trying to have a baby. She says Mila is too much stress. She didn't sign up for this." Theo steps onto the porch next to me and says, "Didn't sign up for what? Being a parent to the kid you went to court to keep?" Grant's face gets red. I kept her fed and clothed for 3 years while her mother was learning to use a wheelchair. Theo walks down the driveway toward the car. "Look at your daughter. Look at what she's wearing. You call that fed and clothed?" Grant looks at Mila for the first time and something flickers across his face, but he shoves it down. "Just take her. I don't have time for this." Mila is staring at my wheelchair. Then her eyes move past me into the apartment, and she sees the ramps and the hallways and Nico's toys on the floor. She looks back at me, and her voice comes out so small it almost breaks me. "Daddy said you couldn't hold me anymore. He said you couldn't do anything by yourself." I open my arms. She walks straight into me and buries her face in my neck, and I can feel her whole body shaking. "He told me you forgot about me." I whisper back, "I never forgot about you, baby. Not for one single day." She pulls back with tears running down her cheeks. "Then why didn't you come get me?" I tried. They wouldn't let me. She goes quiet and then sees the high chair in the kitchen, and her whole face changes. "Mom, is that my brother?" Grant shouts from the car. "I'll come get her when things settle." Theo pulls out his phone and dials and says loud enough for Grant to hear, "Hey, I need to speak with our lawyer right now." Grant stops talking. He peels out of the driveway so fast his tires screech on the pavement. That night, Mila found the yellow raincoat hanging in her room. She held it to her chest and whispered, "Your arms work just fine, Mom."